See all that crap? That's all off of that foot. So the sump I've decided to use is made by Beans Machine. To what I've read and seen, this is probably the best sump out there. It seals against the bottom of the tank with an O-ring. The fittings for the fuel are also O-ring. They actually have 2 ports for you guys that are using aftermarket stuff. So the way this works is you plug off your existing fuel supply line, which is on the tank, and it's hanging down at your pump. So I'll plug mine off at the pump and then keep your return line, so that circuit still works. And your fuel will now start coming out through the beans. You'll make a new fuel line that goes from your beans, and I'll put a fuel filter between the beans and the tank. I would not recommend doing this without a fuel filter in the middle, because if you get any trash or sediment or anything in your fuel, it's all going to come down and get in here, and you want to have a pre-filter before your pump. So for the fuel filter, this is a Wix, and the fuel filter I bought is a Baldwin. For the fuel system connections, if you don't know, these modern fuel connections, they just snap on or click on and positive lock or whatever they want to call it. There's no hose clamps or hose barbs or anything like that. They make special tools out of the one last thing I'm probably going to do is put a fuel shutoff valve. This is a brass ball valve between the tank and the pre-filter, so I can cut the fuel off when I change filters or do maintenance or whatever. I went ahead and chose to go with some 6AN connections, and these are called, I believe, push lock fittings. You push up on your hose, and you're not supposed to need any hose clamps or anything. This fitting here is from Evil Energy, and one thing it does that's unusual, the factory ends just pop up on there. Well, this one is made with the end that comes off unscrewed, so you put the clamp on the fitting and lock it down. So when I get everything put together, I will get up under the truck and give you the once over of the entire system, front to back. So as far as cutting the hole in the bottom of the tank for the sump, you have to have an area that's completely flat for this thing to sit. It goes up on the bottom of the tank. This piece goes inside, goes down and locks, and you lock it together with a bolt, and that's how it tightens up on the O-ring on the bottom of the tank, and that's how it seals. So you have to have an area that's completely flat, no ripples, no gouges, no grooves, in order for this to work. This is the point right here where the fuel pickup sits, but it's got a indentation right here, almost the exact same size as this sump, and it may actually work, but I'm not going to put it there. I don't want to take a chance that that's not going to work. And you want to try to have it in the lowest point of your tank if you can. So for me, the lowest area and the best area, and pretty much the only area for me to put this beans in this tank is right back here. It's flat, and it's in a good spot. So I'm going to mount mine right here. And I'm not going to give you any measurements or anything, because every tank is different. You'll have to figure out your tank. You do yours. Let me also mention, I've seen quite a few videos of guys doing this with their tank still in the truck. And again, for me, pulling the tank out and cleaning all the trash out of the inside was pretty much the only way to go. I was just too worried about the trash being left in there, and I showed you how much trash there was being left in there, and eventually finding its way inside of my sump and getting down here in the fuel well, and I'm screwed again. So I want to get every speck of trash, that plastic trash, out of my tank. So that's where I'm going to mount the beans. They give you a hole saw. Alright, I have the hole drilled. I'm going to take a razor blade, let the little burr inside the tank, and you want to try to get that out of there. It won't seal right if you don't. Now I'm going to get a piece of sandpaper and just go around the edge. Alright, as far as installing this, if you're on the truck, you have to put it up on the bottom of the tank. You use this slot, it's made to go up inside the tank, and then the bolt goes in the middle, tightens it down. There's 2 wells in here. There's a big side and a small side. The big side is your supply side. By the way, all this is in the instructions. I didn't show them to you, but it's got really good instructions. Make sure it's centered in the hole right. Whenever I do anything with O-rings, I always like to put some oil on the O-ring. Make sure your maintenance surface is completely clean. The bolt, I believe, is stainless. They give you a torque spec Just make sure and read the instructions and tighten it down like you're supposed to. They recommend putting some anti-seize on these components, which is never a bad idea. I almost effed up. I completely ignored the straps that hold the tank. One strap goes right there, right beside where I put this damn thing. If I'd have done it with the tank mounted, obviously that wouldn't have been an issue. But yeah, damn, that's lucky. What I am going to do is install the plug and the fuel fitting. And again, these are aluminum on aluminum. They do have O-rings. I'm going to put a tiny amount of oil on the O-ring, tiny amount of anti-seize on the threads. One of the reasons I bought this kit, based on reviews and stuff reading on the web, is these O-ring fittings. They're supposed to be really good and just do not leak. Whereas, you know, pipe thread gets a little bit chewed up or galled or whatever, you know, pipe thread can leak. This is a plastic tank. Can't go crazy tightening on this, but that ought not leak. So here it is installed. I had to point the fuel in just towards the inside of the truck, towards the frame rail, because of the gas tank strap. I'm sure glad I didn't do something stupid and drill a hole over here. I don't think I would have done that anyway, because it's got ripples in it and stuff, and you can't put it anywhere that's not flat. I'm just glad I didn't get it over so far that it hits the strap, because I'm like a half inch away from hitting the side of that strap. The fuel supply line will be blocked off under the truck at the fuel pump. This just goes right back in here just like it came out. Find the locks. There's a keyway right there. Alright, so in we go. Starting to tighten up now. Alright, I think that's tight as I want to try to get it. Alright, so now I'm going to get the tank put in. I'm not going to film that like I said earlier. It's just too hard to film it and do it at the same time. Well, there it is. Alright, I'm going to give you the real quick tour here. So here is the stock supply line that you have to plug off, and this is the plug that comes in the Beans kit. I've already got it, you know, put in, so I can't take it out, but I think I already showed it to you once. But it plugs in the stock hose and plugs it off. Here is the Evil Energy fitting I showed you, the quick disconnect fitting that has the screw-on piece in the back. So this fitting actually screws on, so you can, instead of having to have the tool to pop it off, you unscrew it and it comes apart. Of course, here's an AN fitting, 6 AN 3/8 push lock hose, and then here's the inline brass shut-off valve. So basically I put this in here for maintenance. Here's the Beans unit. I still have to torque it down. I got to put the drain plug back in, of course, right here. And then the way I ran the fuel line, I came out the side and then up and into the frame rail. And some people don't like using zip ties for stuff, but hey, they work. So I zip tied my fuel line. I could have used braided stainless, but that's a lot of extra money, and this hose is not going to get abused. I mean, I'll keep an eye on it through time, and if I ever see it, feel like it's needing to be changed to braidless or something, I don't know. So that's where I mounted my filter. The bracket is right there, bolted to the frame rail. I used the ORB O-ring fittings to AN, so these are 6 AN fittings. Okay, real quick, here's the bracket that I made to hold my fuel filter. So the 3 holes in the back here, those bolt to the frame rails, and then the other 2 holes hold the filter bracket. The filter bracket has 2 3/8 holes already drilled and tapped. 3/8 by 16, by the way, US thread. The filter bracket bolts to the bracket I made, which bolts to the frame rail. There's the ORB fitting inside the Beans to another 6 AN fitting right there. So my fuel system is plumbed with 3/8, just like it was from the factory. Fuel filter's on. There's my Wicks filter. So that's it. The install is done. I let this thing run down to below 1/8 of a tank when the fuel gauge light comes on, which I have not been able to do in years. I did it, it worked fine, didn't give out a fuel. I have run several tanks of fuel through the truck since I added the Beans Sump, and everything's working fine. So anyway, I thought I'd do a quick test drive right quick, and just to show you. I just pulled out of my driveway. I'm going to take it down the road here to the first spot, less than a mile from my house, where I could tell an immediate difference in performance. I have to climb a hill, and every time I climbed that hill, it would downshift out of high gear, and that's when I knew my performance was just not what it used to be. Now it doesn't do that. So here we are. Yeah, even climbing that light little hill right there would always pull out of overdrive, but it runs great. Throttle response is back. No shifting out of overdrive into third on little hills and little accelerations. I can pass cars. Oh God, for 2 or 3 years I could barely pass cars anymore. I had no power to get around anybody. I would floor it and it would just bog down and slowly gain speed. You guys that have these trucks, they're pretty peppy when you go to pass somebody, and you know that. So here we go. I'm extremely happy with that Beans Sump. It was the best thing for me to do, and I'm so glad I went ahead and made the decision to pull my tank, which allowed me to find that pickup tube being clogged. If I hadn't found that, I'd still be having the same performance issues I had. I wouldn't be giving out a fuel at 1/4 of a tank anymore, but it'd still be running like crap, and no pickup, no performance, no acceleration. So as I always say, be sure and do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, so you'll know when I post a new video, like this one, for example. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Happy test drive, y'all. Let's go. Woo-hoo! Speeding on these back roads. I would never. I'd never.